the incentive that it gives to totalitarians to foment instability, to create the misery that leads to these flows north.
Are you talking of Russia?
Russia.
That's really interesting.
Sure. I mean, I must point you to a couple of columns I've written on this. And when you explain it in a step-by-step systemic way to a politician, it's very difficult for them not to agree. And so it's funny. This weekend, I almost wrote on the small boats. And I thought, what's the point of cutting and pasting the last one? Mm. And it's amazing how our inability as a nation to act.
Well, Liz Truss sat exactly where you're sitting and said, well, there was nothing I could have done even when, I mean, she was there such a short time anyway, but she said it's the deep state.
Did you probe that answer?
The deep state being, I guess, in the thick of it was the blockages. Did you watch the thick of it? What was her name? They always called her a blockage, but the civil service.
But as the Prime Minister, she could have immediately called a conference with other Western leaders, all of whom are struggling with this issue.
Well, Starmer just did that with Macron, didn't he? And what did you get? He said it was one in, one out.
That's a waste of time. What Starmer's doing. I think any Prime Minister could have convened a meeting, as they did after the Second World War, to draft the Refugee Convention and say, it's not working. It's handing an incentive to Russia to stoke misery in Africa. Let's amend the document so that we can deport people who come illegally. That stops people coming illegally, dying in the oceans. And then we can have a judgment call on how many people we want to bring in legally and safely.
Is part of the problem, though, I mean, I know you talk about Times poll, but the Times is sort of centre-right just about, and, obviously Telegraph readers, Daily Mail readers, but then half the country sort of, is it fair to half the country?
This is a random sample, though, the poll.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting to know, because I wonder how much, a lot of the things we're talking about right now, this is why this is called Heretics, and you can't talk about in most mainstream circumstances.
I don't think that's true anymore.
Do you think that's changed?
Reform are leading the opinion polls.
And yet, whenever I've had these discussions on sort of Ian Dale's cross question at LBC, I've been on there and it feels like I'm telling, especially the politicians who just seem so ill-informed, it feels like they've never heard these talking points before.
It's odd, isn't it?
How many have you been on? You must have heard other people saying these things.
It's interesting you say that. There is something very odd. But let me perhaps say this. I think that even if we stop the small boats and we cut the level of legal immigration, we would still have very deep problems as a society. Very, very significant problems.
As a result of multiculturalism?
No.
Other issues?
No. We have vested interests that are holding us back. Many, many vested interests. We also have a very high level of debt, public debt, which is now 100% of GDP. It's just gone up and up over the last 50 years. We're spending money that we can't afford. So that actually Ray Dalio, a hedge fund owner, said that we're in a debt-death spiral. Effectively, that a lot of our public spending now is servicing the interest on our debt. So it means that we're taxing a lot and spending a lot, but we still feel very, very squeezed. And that is in my view, a problem of a society that has lost what really preeminently made us a great society, which was the capacity to delay gratification. If you look at, I mentioned the interest rate earlier. The interest rate in a non-fiat system, in say a gold system, the interest rate is a proxy for societal patience. You can see if you need an incredibly high interest rate to save, you're a pretty impatient person. And the interest rate was very low in England in 1500 because we had cultivated this incredible patience and we were willing to delay gratification. And that meant we could save and invest and generate compound growth. In the last 50 years, we've run deficits every single year bar, I think, 3. France every year bar none. America's still growing, has this incredible frontier spirit, this incredible entrepreneurism deep in its culture, but its debt is getting higher and higher. And Trump will add very significantly to the level of debt. And it's interesting, I was in Washington during the presidential election and the federal debt was hardly mentioned. And in our general election, Starmer and Sunak competed to make more giveaways. We're not going to raise taxes. We're going to Sunak talking about a quadruple lock for pensions. Farage is rising in the polls partly because of the rhetoric on immigration, illegal and legal, but also because of these very profligate giveaways. We're bribing. And it's like for the electorate, yeah, I'm going to take the sweets, the bribes, but we are suffering as a consequence of the interest we're now paying on it. And we're bequeathing our children with a terrible inheritance. Let's not pretend that all of our problems are down to multiculturalism. We have some very severe indigenous issues too.
So we're pretty screwed. We need to be more tantric. When you say delayed gratification, I think of sort of Sting with his tantric stuff.
Yeah, right.
That's what he does.
That's the idea.